Hello everybody and welcome back to another Vatsim tutorial. So, as you're probably aware if you've been watching some of my streams or watched most of my recent videos, I mention a lot of Navigraph. So obviously I've got Navigraph up now. What Navigraph is, it provides you with graphs of every single airport in the world, which obviously when you join Vatsim it does say make sure you've got all your charts and graphs available to you. Now, what are graphs and what are charts? Well, basically, they show every single bit of information about a certain airport, depending on which airport you're flying from. Pardon me. And which airport you're flying to. It shows up all your departures, the airways that you'll be using, what altitudes you need to be at when you're departing, what altitudes you need to be as you're coming in for arrival. And I will go over that stuff in a second. But just to look over here, a brief overview of the Navigraph website. You don't have to use Navigraph, there are other ones, other alternatives available. But I tend to use Navigraph, and I think a lot of people on Vatsim tend to use Navigraph. It is a really brilliant app. You can actually download it for your phone. I've got it on my phone. And you can also download it for your iPads or Samsung Galaxy Tabs if you have either one of them. And you can have it on your lap as you're flying. And it is even used in real life as well. So if you're a budding pilot or if you're looking to become a pilot, it's a brilliant app, and I would 100% recommend downloading it. However, in order to get access to the Navigraph maps, you will need to pay a subscription, and I believe if I go over to the Get Started tab, you'd obviously put in your first name, your last name, your email address, and your password, and what your name is. And then, get back on there. And then you will have to pay a monthly subscription. I think it's like £16, £15 a month. It might have gone up, might have gone down. I'm not too sure. And then you will have access to all your charts. If you want, you can have a look at the beginner's guide chart. It even shows you a beginner's guide. So let's click that. So there you go, it tells you what Navigraph does. So there you go, Navigraph offers updated airport charts. These charts do get updated every so often. Obviously, because not everything stays the same in terms of airports. Some runways might be closed, a new runway might be getting built, so they need to put the runway on there. There might be new. The train always changes and all that stuff. And as it says, it's made available every 28 days according to the AIRAC cycle. And it also works in conjunction with SimBrief, so it works kind of like in symbiosis with SimBrief. So there it tells you if you want to start a subscription, go to the main page, click Get Started, which I've just shown you earlier. So, what I am going to do now is I'm going to switch over to the actual, what the Navigraph shows you. So, got Navigraph up now. Obviously, this was my previous flight from LA to Las Vegas. Now, if you look, they're all color coded as well to make it simple. So you've got the departure pink and the arrival green. Now, let's say obviously I was taken off from LX. You can zoom in. These are all your airways, which are essentially like highways but for planes. That's the best way of thinking about it. It's just highways for planes, or motorways if you're that way inclined for planes. Right, so let's just say I want to have a look at Los Angeles' airport information. So you'd click on KLAX and it'll come up saying open charts list, add edit procedures. We're going to open the charts list, and on the left hand side here it has your star, approach, taxis, SIDS, and obviously other references if you want to have a look at them. But let's just have a look at the taxi routes. So if I was to click on the standard taxi routes, it gives you all the information. So these are Jepson charts. Obviously, it was updated the 4th of March 2022, and it's Los Angeles, California standard taxi routes. And they also include low visibility routes. So you've got north, south, west, and the bridge. And it tells you all the information needed for the taxiway. So, for instance, north, taxi via taxiway Charlie or Bravo towards taxiway November. Taxi northbound on taxiway November, and at checkpoint 1, contact ground control on frequency 12165 and hold short of taxiway November 2. So that's if you are going north on the taxiways. So obviously, if you want to have a read through that, you can. I mean, I'm just going to quickly gloss over it for the purpose of this video. And also, you've got, it even tells you construction. I think this is more based in real life, not for flight sim, obviously, because construction doesn't take place on the flight sim. But obviously, the Vatsim network does try to mimic real life as much as possible. So if there's a runway shut, or a runway is getting work done to it, or a taxiway is getting done on it, the controllers at the airports will figure out a taxi route to try and mimic that, the fact that there is construction going on the taxiway. So as you can see here, there is construction on taxiway Charlie between November and Bravo 13. And there's also a little bit of patchwork being done on Bravo 13 onto Bravo. So, and it says there, highlight at the bottom in the legend, it is closed. So on Vatsim, it would probably, if you were coming out of Charlie 12 or Lima and you were expecting to turn right for runway 7 left, you'd probably not be able to get past it. Probably the ATC would probably have you taxiing on Lima, then onto Lima again, and then onto Bravo. You've also got your airport info, so if you're not familiar with airport, it's great. It's great because you can, it shows you the whole airport in its entirety, where the taxiways are, where the runways are, where the gates are, the terminals, the ramps, the tower, everything. All the different terminals, obviously it depends which airport to choose from. Obviously, I'm just using this one as an example, which is LAX, which is obviously Los Angeles over on the west coast of America. And as you can see, it shows all the taxi routes. Normally I'll get this up when I'm not really familiar with the airport and there's a lot of taxi routes that I need to remember. It even shows you your approved taxi routes, so there we go. Green is your preferred taxi route. Green with a black lane is the taxi on the runways, so there you go, you've got the taxiing down on the runways. And then red, aircraft design group operation not available, so there you go. So you can't really taxi on these taxi routes because it is marked in red. And it's also got your takeoff minimums. Takeoff obstacles. As I said, this is more really for real life flying. If you're actually flying from LAX, I mean, it's more relevant to that. So I'm just going to quickly go over that. And it also shows you all the parking bays in terminals 1 to 8. It's got the parking bays coordinates. And then obviously it's got low vis taxi routes. So if it's nighttime or there's a lot of fog kicking around the airport or the weather's just bad and the visibility is terrible, it even shows you the runway hotspots, runway incursion hotspots, where most likely planes are going to be coming onto the runways for taxiing or taxiing off the runway, and where the traffic is going to be highest when there are planes landing and taking off or taxiing to take off, which is highlighted by these circles. So it also shows you the various approaches for the runways. So you've got the 6 left on-nav approaches and high lefts, the 6 right, 7 left, 7 right, 2 4 left, 2 4 right, 2 5 left, and 2 5 right. So let's go ahead and say, for instance, we're coming into ILS 06. So it shows you this chart. Now, depending on the route you're taking, depends on which parts you want to be looking out for. So this is for if we were coming in for runway 6 right. Bearing in mind, it can depend on what runways are open at the time. Obviously, you'll be able to find that out when you get your ATIS information. So at the top here, it's got the ATIS arrival frequency, the SoCal approach frequencies for your RNAV, and it's got all the different frequencies for Los Angeles Tower North and South. Even has a frequency for helicopters. And it also shows you the ground frequencies for the airport, which are here. So, and it even shows you the transition level, which is flight level 180. So that's when, as soon as you pass flight level 180, as you're coming down, you will go back to standard barometric pressure. And it even gives you instructions on what to do if you're going for a missed approach. You'd climb to 600 feet, then climbing left, turn to 3,000 feet outbound on LAX VOR 046 to Amtra, D17.3 LAX and hold. So let's just say we're coming in from Fillmore VOR. As you're looking at it, it says you've got 19.6, 6,161. 6,000 is the altitude you need to be at when you hit Fillmore VOR, and the heading is 161 degrees. You then go from Fillmore to Walker, and it tells you that you've got to be at a speed of no greater than 210 knots. And then you want to be at 5,600 on a heading of 142. Straight forward to Killy, and again, got the altitude, you'd go down to 3,600 on a heading of 103. And then you join up at Nathan, and then into the runway approach procedures. It also shows you the stars. So let's say for Angel for our nav approach. So obviously there's difference. So this is for the approach. Got a lot of numbers, different colours, and different names of waypoints. These names are Sally, Gleason, Angel, Big Hole, Khan, Boyle. They're all waypoints which should be in your flight management computer depending on which arrival you take. Obviously, it'll vary from different place to place around the world depending on where you are. Each airport has different procedures. So, another examples. Let's say we're coming in from O'Toole. Coming in from O'Toole at flight level 190, as it's stated there. Then once you get to B call, you want to be at 280 knots, and you want to be at flight level no greater than 2800, and no lower than flight level 240, which is 28,000, which is 28,000 or 24,000. Then you'd go to Lem, still at flight level 240, link up with Angel, and you can be no higher than flight level 240 and no lower than flight 190. That is because of obviously the mountainous terrain around LA. So that's just a little heads up on that one there. Floors who are thinking about going to LA. You'd then go to Cairn, and then it would be, you've got 17,000, so you'd have to be at 17,000 when you're coming into Cairn. And then on to 14,000 for Boyle. And then you keep following the route, and then it says expect ILS or nav approach, runway 25 left approach. And then you want to be at 270 knots and no greater than 14,000 feet and no lower than 12,000 feet. And as you can see, there's a runway there. Obviously, this bit is blank because that would be for the approach. So obviously, this is Angel 4 or nav. So we've had a look at the taxi, we've had a look at the approach, and we've had a look at the stars. Now let's have a look at the departures. Let's just pick Catalina 8 departure. So it tells us the airport elevation, the transition altitude, and it also tells it gives you instructions pretty much on what to do when taking off. Obviously, ground control and ATC will give you instructions as well. So just be wary of that, because they might give you different altitudes to the ones that are shown on Navigraph, depending on how busy the airports are. But in this example, we are at Catalina 8 departures, and this is for runways 6 left, 6 right, 7 left, and 7 right. So we'd take off from 6 left inward to go on a heading of 071 degrees, and we would climb to 2000 just before this corner. Then do a right base turn towards 245 heading. And then as we come towards the left base, we want to be at 5,000 feet. So you'd put 5,000 feet in the flight management computer, or if you're flying manually, you'd go up to 5,000 feet. Once we've hit 5,000 feet, you would then want to be on a heading of 170, and then you'd be going up to 9,000 feet by the time you hit Santa Catalina. And also, it gives you takeoff obstacle notes. The SID requires takeoff minimums for standard minimums referred to airport charts. And there you go. And also, in this one, you do have references. So you've got the Class B airspace reference. So if we have a look at that, so obviously you've got flight, because not every single plane can go to any airport. Different types of planes are only allowed in certain different types of airspace. Like you cannot, it's like if you're in a Class Bravo, there's different classes. I think you've got Class Bravo, you've got Class Charlie, and you've got Class A. And I cannot remember which ones are which, but there are a few videos of planes just wandering into classified airspace and being told by ATC to politely go away, because obviously they've just flew in without permission. So obviously now ATC's got a rogue plane in their airspace, and they are now trying to get that out of there purely for safety reasons, but that's for another video for another time. So that's the overview of the charts for Navigraph. Obviously, as I said before at the beginning, each chart will be different. No chart is the same, as different airports, depending on where you are around the world, have different procedures and different altitudes you need to be at certain points, and different headings, different routes. It can be all different depending on where you are flying to and from. And obviously, if you want to have a look at other places around the world, obviously you've got Europe over here. It shows these are all the airways for the entire aviation airspace as we know. So folks, that is it for this Navigraph tutorial. I hope it does help you, and I hope I do have simplified it enough for you. And don't forget, if you've got any questions, comments or suggestions, don't forget to leave a like, share and subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. And I will also post a link to Navigraph in the video's description down below. So that is it from me. Thank you for watching this video, and I shall see you guys later.